everybody, Zach again, newtutorial.com, coming in, making a video for you today. I want to talk about a past video I did talking about a number of reasons why I believe we're living in the last days. It was a very popular video. I think it was like 7, scriptural reasons of why, proofs why we're living in the last days, how we know we're living in the last days. And one of those that is just one of the things that solidifies it for me, and that's why it's in the list, is the fact that at the Tower of Babel, men thought that they could do anything. And that was the reason why the Father confused the languages. If you want to go back and find out why he confused the languages at the Tower of Babel, it was for that reason. Man thought they could do anything they wanted to according to their imaginations. And so if that's what we have today, okay, we have that again today. The barrier that the Father put in place, the confusing of the languages, has been eliminated. That barrier is gone. And I make the point in that video that there are, devices now you can just put in your ear and go to any foreign country and just talk to somebody, and their speech will be converted to you in real time through that device. And so that language barrier is gone, okay? And there's all kinds of new technologies coming out for that purpose. In videos and other things too. Google Translate basically translates now in real time, and you have all these devices. So the barrier is gone, okay? If the Father put that in place because man thought that they could do anything, and now the barrier has been taken away that the Father put in place, it's almost certain that the Father has to get involved here again soon, because we're living in an age now where man thinks they can do anything. We can travel to space. We got these, Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic and all these things. Where they're selling tickets now for tourism out there. And so all these things we can do anything. You have CERN, you have all these new technologies that are coming up, and man is at a point where they think they can do anything. There's nothing that they can do outside of the imagination of their mind. In the last, I made this point at the conference I spoke at recently. There was a guy named Cleon Skousen who wrote a book called The 5,000-Year Leap. And he titled it that way because in the last 100 years, we have developed more technology than the last 5,000 years combined. So does that make sense? In the last 5,000 years, we have people who lived 100 years ago still live basically the way people 5,000 years ago lived. But in this last 100 years, we've made a giant leap. We now have the ability to do things, anything we want. And I hear often, we've seen movies and we're so amazed at the technology in the movies, from the movies like back in the 1980s, some of this weird sci-fi stuff is actually reality today. You can see these things in our world today. Things that were only imagined in sci-fi movies 20, 30, 40 years ago. You've noticed that, right? Like, wow, this used to only exist in movies, and now we have these things. Yep, now we do. Because man can do anything that their imagination allows them to do. And now we've taken away that barrier that the Father put in place. So it almost guarantees, it's almost a certainty that the Father will get involved here again in his creation. So I've often wondered about a verse in Revelation chapter 8. Let's read the verse. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of trees was burnt up, and all the green grass was burnt up. Now, some translations say this differently. Here's an NIV translation. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and there was hurled down on the earth. A third of the earth was burnt up, a third of the trees were burnt up, and all the green grass was burnt up. And depending on what your text you're using, whether it's the Textus Receptus, or if it was a Greek Latin Vulgate, it just depends, what translation you're reading there. A whole bunch of things are on fire. That's what it comes down to. How does this happen? Well, there was a really amazing event that took place just 2 days ago, and it was on the sun. A coronal mass ejection on the far side of the sun took place, and the world hardly took notice of this. This happened back in 2012. It was a non-Earth facing coronal mass ejection. And before some of you conspiracy theorists go overboard and go nuts thinking, oh, this is all fake, this is all NASA, it makes it all up, you're insane. No. If you go back to the 1859 Carrington event, I think it was Richard Carrington made a sketch of what he was looking at with his own eyes through his own telescope of a sunspot that caused the 1859, what's now called Carrington event. where telegraph wires and some primitive buildings caught on fire. Because keep in remember, 1859, this was pre-Civil War. There was not a lot of electricity. There was hardly any at all. There was no, most buildings, even, important government buildings, office buildings, things where business took place, they had no electricity at all, none. And so the very few that did caught on fire, and telegraph wires, even when disconnected from their power source, still caught on fire. Why? Because of all of the energy that was in the atmosphere, finding ways of conductivity, copper wiring, things like that, they caught on fire. Now, fast forward, we haven't had another Carrington-style type event. We've had a few small things, but no major X-class solar flares have happened since the Carrington event in 1859, something that was observable, demonstratable, through your own human eyes, seen through a telescope. You can see this. This is not some kind of NASA conspiracy. Some of you guys out there drive me crazy. Denying what's obviously right in front of your faces. But whatever, it doesn't matter. The 1859 Carrington event was observable, demonstrable science through your own eyes. And you can see this still today through your own telescope with the right, sort of lenses. It's the sunspots on the sun, the same sunspots that are observable, demonstratable through the SOHO and other official observatories. Okay, you can see this and you can match it up. It's not some conspiracy. It's not some Hollywood fantasy. Okay, we had a major CME eruption on the far side of the sun just 2 days ago. A major enough CME that it would have put us in the dark ages again. And the world didn't even take notice. It's not on any news media. You probably didn't know about it until just now. But I'm linking a video below, a very short, quick video that talks about it. Right in the description. Go click on that link. Click on that link and watch that short, quick video. Because you wonder, how is he going to burn up a third of the earth? How many buildings today have copper wiring in them? How many cars? Everything you have, this keyboard has copper wiring in it. Everything you have, your cell phones, the mouse, everything has copper wiring in it. And can be used as conductivity to atmospheric power that could start fires. And if you think about places out west where they struggle with forest fires anyway, if they have a dry season and we get a CME that sets everything on fire, sets every house, every building, every car on fire, talk about a forest fire. Talk about a third of the earth getting burned up. That's a real quick, in my opinion, that's a real good candidate for that verse coming to fruition. If a CME, a coronal mass ejection, and people talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and Fedcoin and all this stuff, and I own some cryptocurrencies. I have some of that stuff, but it's like, I see everyone thinks this is the greatest thing ever. But you know what? If a coronal mass ejection comes from the sun, none of it's going to matter because everything will be turned off. And all of the things, like when a hurricane comes through, there's damage. But see, there's places that exist where you can build new things to replace and repair that damage. But if a CME comes through to the earth and hits earth with that sort of atmospheric concussion and damaging energy, there's no one's coming for you. Nothing will be repaired. It brought to mind this verse because right now the world is so anti-God, so hating of God. It always brings to mind this verse in Psalms chapter 2. Why does the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sits in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. So the whole world today, and this is a great chapter, by the way. It's not very long. Read the chapter. But these heathens rage. They're mad at the Father. They're mad at the people who are joined to the Father. They're raging against them. And the people, these heathens, they're imagining vain things. They want to go to space. They want to do their Virgin Galactics and Blue Origin. And they want to develop all these technologies and all of this merging of science and weird, and all this nonsense and crazy things. They want to do all these things. And he that sits in the heavens, he laughs at them. He shall have them in derision. And when I see something like this, as simple as a coronal mass ejection from the sun, that could set everything back to the Stone Age, It's like the Father says, yeah, you guys are doing all these things. And you're imagining all these vain things. And you think that you've got me. You think you hate my people, the people who call me by my name. I got a present for you. I'm still in control. And that gives me hope. It gives me encouragement because we know who is still in control. He is still in control. When you look throughout the world and you see all the world coming against the Father's people and the Father himself and speaking ill of those who worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, don't worry. He's got you because he's going to have them in derision. He is still in control. Something as simple as a coronal mass ejection from the sun, something that has happened before, okay? It just happened 2 days ago, just in the opposite direction. And we're getting through, watch the video that's in the description. I'm telling you guys, watch that video. It tells you that we're getting into a solar cycle that we're going to see these increase, and it is increasing already. Right now, the sun is just shooting these out randomly in different directions, slowly. And they're not hitting Earth. And they're not happening all that often, but it's increasing. So it's getting to be like, one of those is going to hit us. It could. Not saying it will. It could. And if it does, he's in control. It's just showing everyone that he is still in control. The one who sits in the heavens shall laugh. He has them in derision. This is his sandbox. We should never forget it. All right, we'll leave it at that. Go home, read your Bible. Watch that video. Thanks.